Types of Xenomorphs. We've witnessed some terrifying alien forms in fiction over the past few decades, but not many could match up to the vicious nature of the Xenomorph. Ridley Scott's 1979 classic introduced these mean and hostile species to us, and since then, we have witnessed them in various forms. The Xenomorph has now become one of the most iconic monsters, and every new entry in the Alien franchise adds something more to the creature. They reveal new forms and new characteristics of the species that we haven't seen before, and they keep adding to the deep mythology and designs of this merciless creature. It has been over 40 years since H.R. Giger and Ridley Scott introduced the monster, and since then, it has been constantly changing and destroying lives that are unfortunate enough to come into contact. In this video, we will explore the various types of Xenomorphs, stages of the species, if you will, and it is time to revisit the scariest extraterrestrial in the history of cinema. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Egg. This is often considered to be the first stage in the life cycle of the Xenomorph. This stage is also called the ovomorph, and it resembles an egg-shaped capsule. Inside is a facehugger, which is often thought of as the first stage in the life cycle of the Xenomorph. A queen lays them, and sometimes a process of metamorphosis on a victim also produces them. By themselves, the egg is almost lifeless, and it is more of a vessel that contains the real threat within. But there is more to this state than what meets the eye. It is believed that the facehugger and the egg coexist in a symbiotic relationship. Their biggest ability is to quickly detect a potential host in the surroundings. They have a rudimentary central nervous system that allows them to detect a victim nearby. It can also be the case that the skin of the egg contains some sensory organ. The moment a host body is determined, the top of the egg opens up like a petal, and the facehugger springs out to latch onto the victim. When an egg is produced, it already contains a fully formed facehugger, and it is always ready to be launched into the victim. The egg is quite large and about 2.5 feet tall, and these brownish black leathery eggs look white and gray when it is old. The functioning of this state suggests that the egg is not just a mere vessel, but a complete organism. It is surprisingly durable as well, and if an egg is dropped on the surface of the earth, it will bounce back up instead of breaking. The facehugger remains safe inside even if the gravitational forces are 3 times that of the earth. It is also equally challenging to try and cut open one of these eggs. There is a defensive mechanism that allows an acid to spray outward from any incision made. On one occasion, the eggs were seen surrounded by a protective mist, which even damaged communication system. Usually, one egg contains a single facehugger, but there are instances where up to 4 were found inside. These are hyperfertile eggs, and it is somewhat of an evolution of the normal kind. The ideal incubation takes place in conditions that are hot and humid, and if required, the egg can shelter the facehugger safely for thousands of years. However, there is ultimately an expiry time for the egg, and after a certain time period, it dies. Facehugger. There is a saying that if a facehugger gets onto your face, it is better to kill yourself because the fate otherwise is much worse. This is the stage 1 of the Xenomorph species, and it hatches from the egg. The purpose of the facehugger is to somehow implant the chestburster within the living host. The facehugger is not really very powerful because all it could do is spit acid to gain access to the host. It is reliant on a stealthy attack more than anything. If the victim is somehow immobilized, that certainly helps the cause. The facehugger stage has a short life because once the job is done, it dies. The creators have given the facehugger a rather unique appearance. It has skeletal hands fused together and a strange spine-like tail that can help the creature leap around powerfully. The tail is so powerful that it could also strangle the victim by the neck. The creature has 8 legs, and it can also crawl at great speed. The underside of the facehugger resembles the human female genitals, and it has the ability to latch on to the victim without letting go. It is so powerful that it could tear out the skin from the skull, and it is almost impossible to get them off once they have gripped the head. If the Facehugger senses that external forces are trying to remove it, then it will immediately kill the host. From the underside of its body, a proboscis is extended into the host's throat, and this helps the Facehugger implant the next stage. It is capable of releasing a certain sedative into the host that puts him in a comatose state. Since it is not very powerful individually and dependent on stealth, the size and agility helps the creature. Inside the egg, they are inert and lifeless, but the moment a host body is detected, it springs into action. They love the element of surprise in their attacks, but they are also fast enough to chase an escaping victim. The only downside to this creature is that outside the egg, they can only survive for up to 120 hours at most. If their host dies, the Facehugger immediately detaches itself and starts looking for a new one. There have been a few instances where we saw the Facehugger in action even when it was submerged. The creature has shown clear signs of intelligence, and with such versatility, it is no surprise that only a few instances are there where the hosts manage to free themselves. Royal Facehugger. This is a unique variant of the Facehugger, and it is also known as the Super Facehugger. This creature can implant an embryonic queen, and this answers the confusion of how queen xenomorphs are created. A possible explanation could be that the host is impregnated with a queen chestburster. The Royal Facehugger is like an enhanced version of the species because they are capable of implanting multiple embryos in multiple hosts before dying. The other regular xenomorph embryos are supposed to guard the infant queen till she is vulnerable. The Royal Facehuggers also originate from the eggs laid by queens, but they are much larger than usual. They have a special armor and bladed tail, which makes them more than a capable defender. These creatures have webbed claws, and in the comic versions, they are shown to have spines on their back. In the usual circumstances, a Royal Facehugger can impregnate two separate victims with chestbursters. One of them would be the infant queen, while the other would be the protector Xenomorph. They could also survive longer than the normal Facehuggers without impregnating the victim. The Royal Facehugger has not been seen on screen for long, but it is clear that the creature dies after successfully impregnating the hosts. Initially, Alien 3 was supposed to have a longer feature of the Royal Facehugger, but they finally decided to change it into a regular one. They have a much more extensive lore in the comic versions, and we particularly love their inclusion in the Alienverse Predator Deadliest of the Species. It has often been presumed that the Royal Facehugger is more intelligent than the regular Facehuggers, and their ability to remain undercover effectively proves the concept. Chestburster. It is referred to as a Stage 2 Xenomorph, and it is the infant form, which is the third stage in the life cycle of the creature. It is possibly one of the most horrifying methods of gestation, and it gets implanted into a host's chest cavity by a Facehugger. Once it matures, it emerges, bursting open the chest of the victim, and the host body experiences the most brutal death imaginable. They start feeling cramps, and soon it changes to uncontrollable convulsions before the creature finally emerges. The chestbursters are not necessarily huge, and they are merely a foot tall and almost 2 feet long. In terms of their appearance, chestbursters are like large worms. They have metallic teeth and a strong tail that allows them to move at great speeds. Some of them also possess some sort of arms, but usually it is not the case. There is a theory that suggests that when the gestation period is longer, the arms are present at birth, but a shorter time period results in stubs in place of arms. There is another gruesome instance where the chestbursters are unable to break out of the host body. This could be because the rib cage is too strong to break, and in such cases, the host dies due to the presence within the body. Eventually, the creature bursts out of the body when it is strong enough. However, if the host dies too early during the development process, it could be fatal for the embryo. The chestburster is generally introduced directly into the host, but there have been a few rare instances where the infant xenomorphs have been directly inserted into the host. The creature then develops from the host's genetic material, and the physical features are, to some extent, determined by the host. The intelligence and instincts of the adult xenomorph are also influenced by the host's body. They have an incredibly fast gestation period, but it is not the same for all creatures. The queen chestbursters, for instance, have longer gestation periods that could go up to several days. This stage of the xenomorph's life cycle is certainly one of the most vulnerable because they have little in terms of defenses, unlike their adult stages. Warrior. The The warrior is one of the toughest types of xenomorphs, and these are used as one of the first lines of attack. This is a stage where the xenomorph has moved past the chestburster stage. They are now tall at around 8 feet, and they have a lethal 14 to 15 feet long tail. Their powerful secondary set of jaws can fatally injure their victims, and their strength is simply incredible. These creatures are so freakishly strong that they could break down metal pressure doors without much trouble. They are also masters of blending into their surroundings, and often they are not spotted before it is too late. The warriors also have strong heads that can be used to ram against the targets, and these are powerful enough to knock out a Yautja hunter. Even in a scenario where an alien warrior is killed in combat, it explodes into a stream of molecular acid that could still take down an enemy. Their acidic blood can cause extreme injuries, and if someone is close to the dying warrior, there is no way out. They are also fairly smart and know about the acidic quality of their blood. There are instances where the creature used these qualities to get their way in tricky situations. It has been witnessed that the creatures are capable of planning their attacks, and thus their intelligence is a key component mixed with their aggression. The tail of the warrior is quite interesting, and the appearance in the movies kept changing. The later additions to the franchise showed bladed versions of the tail, and these tails can be used to navigate through water as well. Besides being extremely strong, these creatures are also surprisingly agile, and there are several types of warrior xenomorphs. Some people believe that the warriors are basically adult drones, and that could well be the case. Queen. The queen is the mother and a powerful leader of a xenomorph hive, and these are one of the larger xenomorphs that are seen. They are not only larger than the average xenomorph, but they are also much stronger and more intelligent. In fact, they have shown traits of vengeance and complex thinking, which is completely missing from the average xenomorph. The queen has problem-solving skills, and they are not purely instinctive in their behavior. They are fierce fighters themselves, but seldom will you see a queen engaging in combat. Their main task is to lay eggs with the hive, and the workers are supposed to do all the hard work. The queen is also in charge of overseeing the defenses of the hive and the overall management. When this creature lays the eggs, they are almost immobile, and thus it is important that the hive is well protected. They have a command over the other xenomorphs in the hive, and they show their intelligence and their leadership skills as well. The queen is almost double the size of a drone, and it has longer arms as well. She has double jaws armed with sharp teeth and a second set of arms under her chest. They could grow up to almost 4.5 meters in height, and some can grow even larger. The body is capable of detecting any threat in the vicinity because of its sensory system, and the creature is also protected by a strong armor. The mesoskeleton is so durable that it can repel gunfire, and only armor-piercing ammunition can get through. The queen is usually black or bluish black, and it is a great fighter except when it is laying eggs. This creature can lay up to 15 eggs per house, and during this time, the others are supposed to protect their queen. No matter how violent they may seem, these creatures are quite caring of their offspring. There have been a few cases where someone threatened to destroy the queen's eggs and managed to escape using this threat. These creatures live way longer than other xenomorphs, and their special adaptations allow them to thrive in all conditions. Even in harsh cold conditions, they could suspend their metabolism using some sort of hibernation. Runner. The runner is also called the dog alien, and just as the name suggests, these creatures are incredibly fast. These xenomorphs work as sentries, and they are capable of spitting acid from their mouths. Physically, they are different from the human-spawned xenomorphs, and this is simply because the xenomorphs are imbibing some aspects of the host. They could walk or stand on their hind legs, and they are regarded as the fastest among xenomorphs. However, while the runners can outrun most species, they are not matched in strength if you compare them with drones. Thus, their speed is their greatest asset, and they must use it smartly to overcome their enemy. It also has a strong tail that can stun the victim and can be used to attack as well. The chestbursters are not always born fully formed, but the runner always is. It simply grows larger in size after birth and also grows in intelligence. They use their ability to spit acid from a distance and strategize their attacks that do not require them to take the enemy head on. They have also mastered the trick of a perfect ambush, and they attack when the enemy is least expecting them. They also wait for the victim to be alone before they launch an attack, because the runner wouldn't stand a chance against a large group. However, despite all these qualities, the runner is not seen as the smartest among Xenomorphs. While their intellect might be questioned, there is no questioning the usefulness of a runner, especially when it comes to short and quick attacks. The name Runner was coined for the first time in Aliens vs. Predator 2, and we have seen it in Alien movies as well. There was some controversy surrounding the contribution of H.R. Giger in the designs of this creature because his work was undermined by the studio, but Ridley Scott was quick to credit him for his contribution to the project. Newborn. Newborn is actually a human Xenomorph mutant that was a result of some experiments conducted by the United States military. The queen that was produced somehow got contaminated with human DNA, and the end result was Newborn. Ripley 8 was used as the host for the queen, and the Newborn regarded her as its true mother. Eventually, it was also killed by Ripley. The birthing process of the newborn was also very interesting. The queen set up a hive inside the waste tank, and the newborn developed rapidly. When it was born, it turned hostile and tore off the front of her head. It considered Ripley 8 to be its mother, but she managed to escape. However, the newborn pursued her all the way to the Betty, and it soon brought about a wave of violence and death. When Call was captured, Ripley 8 managed to convince the newborn to release Call.
Put it down!
The creature had a more humanoid appearance than others. It did not go through the usual stages of birth, and it was double the size of a warrior. It was also extremely powerful, and it lacked some common features of Xenomorphs, such as the tail or the inner jaw. It even had human-like teeth instead of the metallic teeth that we see in Xenomorphs. There is another major difference between the newborn and the other Xenomorphs. It could feel emotions ranging from rage to sorrow. There was a childish nature in this monster, and it was almost some morbidly cruel innocence. Newborn had a strange devotion towards Ripley 8 and even obeyed her orders. She used this to distract the creature and punched a hole in the window of the spaceship. The sudden decompression was strong enough to blow the newborn out into space, and it was killed. Praetorian. You know a Xenomorph is going to be deadly when it has a Yautja host. It has similar physical characteristics as well, such as the mandibles and the dreadlocks. These dreadlocks act as a sensory organ, just like whiskers for cats, and it also helps their quick reflexes. The Praetorian is a deadly fighter, and the strength is far superior to the human-spawned Xenomorphs. Their extreme strength is due to their powerful host, and the only good thing about them is that they are rare. Their fighting style is quite unique because they have the best of both worlds: the strength of the Yautja and the agility of aliens. They are also known to be quite independent, and they don't necessarily function according to the hive. But that doesn't necessarily imply that they show much intelligence in comparison to the others. Their hunting style is similar to the Yautja, and they are known to take trophies from their victims. The Yautja, however, regard these creatures as an insult to their species. We have seen this creature in the film franchise in movies like Alien vs. Predator and Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. We have seen quite a few different versions of the Praetorian, but the most commonly seen variant looks like a larger version of Xenomorph Warrior. Their mandibles can be used as powerful weapons, and these are present in the creature right from the chestburster phase. The Praetorian is significantly taller than predators and the human-spawned Xenomorphs, and they can grow up to 9 to 10 feet tall. There is a warrior-type Praetorian that is more common, and these can overpower the Yautja quite easily. It would take someone exceptional among the Yautja to take one of these down. Some of these creatures have even adapted themselves to overcome the threat of the Yautjas. Their main role in the hive is that of a protector, and it is more than capable of inflicting damage far worse than the warriors in this regard. Deacon. The Deacon has similarities with the Xenomorph, but they also have some obvious differences. While it is bipedal, the Deacon doesn't have a tail, and although their skin has the texture of a Xenomorph, it is clearly of a different color. This creature has human-like teeth, and the shape of its head is very different from that of a Xenomorph. For all these reasons, the Deacon is often regarded as a preliminary type of Xenomorph. When it bursts out of its host, it uses its pointed skull to exert the pressure required, and it does not bite or claw through the ribcage like the others. Many theories suggest that the Deacon is a new species altogether, and it was implanted inside an engineer host by a creature called the Trilobite. This creature is similar in appearance to the Facehugger stage of the Xenomorph, and it even dies after implanting the embryo inside the engineer. When the Deacon emerges from its host, it comes out fully formed. However, there are a few contradictions to this theory because we haven't really seen a fully adult Deacon. It could be possible that an adult Deacon would look very different from a Xenomorph. The initial idea was to make a creature similar to the normal Xenomorph, but they eventually added the changes to make it a distinctly new creature. The blue skin tone was added so that the creature contrasted against the dark background and the detailing could be more obvious to the audience. Neomorph. These endoparasitoid extraterrestrial species are also quite different from the usual Xenomorphs, but they share a few similarities as well. The Neomorphs have a similar gestation period, and its appearance varies depending upon the animal it is spawned from. For instance, when it has a human host, the creatures are born with developed arms and legs and look very similar to a runner. They slowly develop a bipedal stance, and their fleshy, spiky tail is quite a handy weapon for them. The Neomorph has another major difference from the Xenomorphs, which is their thick and yellow non-acidic blood. These are vicious creatures that are extremely aggressive. They attack just about anyone in the vicinity, and they lack the intelligence that is usually associated with the Xenomorphs. They have been seen to be quite stealthy, but that is just about it when it comes to their smartness. Xenomorphs do not feed upon the human flesh of their victims, but the Neomorph has been seen doing that. This probably implies that the flesh consumption is important for their survival. The victims are thus more like prey for the Neomorph. It has a 5-stage life cycle where it grows from the egg to the Neomorph. The mature version is over 2 meters tall, and it has a bulbous, elongated head. The physiology was inspired by the goblin shark, and Ridley Scott has gone on to suggest that the Neomorph is the first generation of alien. They also have a very short lifespan, and these creatures die within a day of their birth. However, even the corpse transforms into new egg sacs, and thus the life cycle always continues. Protomorph. Also referred to as the Planet 4 Xenomorph, the Protomorph is a very aggressive variant of the species. These were created by some experiments, and the Protomorph had some basic differences from the average Xenomorph. These creatures have longer limbs, and the exposed blood vessels were also something unique. They have a strangely fast growth rate, and it starts right after the creature emerges from the host. It doesn't take long before it matures into a fully adult creature. The normal Xenomorphs are somewhat smarter than these creatures, but these are way more animalistic and attacking in nature. Protomorphs are also hostile to their Xenomorph cousins, and they would attack them just like they would attack any other species. Their life cycle is similar to that of a Xenomorph, but they have a unique ability. These creatures could spawn from near fatal injuries of another, and this makes it almost indestructible. The origin of the Protomorphs has been shrouded in mystery, and many fans believe David to be responsible for the creature. Some others are of the opinion that David simply remodeled something that the engineers created. It was seen in Alien Covenant, and the fans were impressed by the extraordinary designs of this creature. A drone is a stage 4 Xenomorph, and it could be anything from a warrior to a soldier or a worker. They grow up to be quite tall and reach heights of 7 to 8 feet and a length of 14 to 16 feet. Their powerful prehensile tails are great weapons, and it can be used to stab the enemy or hurl it around. They are one of the most commonly seen Xenomorphs, and they are the main defense of the hive in a crisis. They also play a role in the construction of the hive and look for potential hosts to reproduce. Their physical characteristics can vary, but they are all very fast and strong. Their main strength is a stealthy attack, but they are also quite capable of close-range combat. These creatures can spit cysts of their acid blood towards their enemy. The drone remains a strong adversary even when it has died because the body explodes in an acidic explosion that could take down the enemy as well. The drones are usually seen to have originated from human hosts, and they even share the bipedal stature of humans. They are swift in their movements, and these creatures can move through vents and climb up walls effortlessly. They are also capable of impressive leaps, and their strength is no less than an adult Yautja. They have a defined warrior role in the hive, but they also tend to the nest when required. The drone is not the smartest among the lot, but it does have an understanding ability of a dog. If required, they have been seen to modify their strategies, and they never give up in a fight, even if they lose one of their limbs. They are quite capable of growing into evolved versions of Xenomorphs, but the exact nature of these changes is unknown. Praetorian. The Praetorian has often been hailed as the royal guard, and for good reason. These beasts grow twice the size of others, and they are one of the final stages in the life cycle of Xenomorphs. These creatures are created when the population of a hive exceeds 300, and they take up the role of an army commander or the guard of the queen. Their field of operation is mainly restricted to the hive, and they are one of the largest Xenomorph strains ever. They are also among the strongest, and their appearance is very similar to that of the queen. They stand at 10 feet tall, and only the queen towers over these creatures. While the Praetorians are gigantic, they are still quite agile like the smaller Xenomorphs. This makes them a formidable enemy, and their only shortcoming is that they are unable to scale walls or ceilings because of their heavy weight. These creatures are provided with armor-like skin, and it protects them from external attacks. They are also capable in combat that a single Praetorian can defend against entire squads of Marines. They can even match up to a Yautja in terms of strength. They spit acids just like some of the other Xenomorphs, but the quantity is much greater and causes more damage. While some Xenomorphs need the shelter of stealth, the Praetorian can launch a head-on attack and rip the enemy apart. They are also extremely cunning and intelligent, and they will protect the queen at all costs. The only possible downside to these powerful beasts is that if they are killed, the drones and other soldiers it commands are disoriented and easy to overcome. King Alien. King Alien is also called the Rogue or the Usurper, and this genetically engineered Xenomorph is a result of some experiments. The intention behind the creation of this creature was to be the control mechanism that could be used by humans. It could be the control system to rein in other Xenomorphs, but the plans soon went for a toss. The creature turned out to be nothing as planned, and it is simply a vicious beast that aggressively attacks the enemies. This creature was enormous and quite powerful, and it showed no signs of controlling the drones when the situation arose. Instead of a control mechanism, it turned out to be a hostile threat for the other Xenomorphs and attacked the drones. While it did not attack those in the base, if someone got in its way, he wasn't spared. Usually, it chose to ignore other organisms, but if they seemed like a threat, it would attack relentlessly. It even attacked the royal guard of the queen and defeated it. Eventually, the queen was engaged in combat, and the King Alien tasted defeat for the first time. It was believed that the King Alien would overpower the queen, but it did not turn out to be as powerful. Spitter Alien. This is a specialized Xenomorph which was designed for the long-ranged attacks. It is known to attack others by using large amounts of acid that it discharged towards the enemies from great distances. For this reason, the creature is also known as the Ranger. These Xenomorphs are larger than the runners, but the drone and warrior Xenomorphs are bigger in size. The colonial Marines encountered this threat, and the acid-spitting ability of these creatures claimed a few lives. The head crest of the Spitter Alien is similar to that of the Queen or the Praetorians. There are several pouches in this crest that hold acid, but these are also a threat to the creature itself. If these pouches are ruptured, the Spitter will explode in an acid bath. Not only would anyone in the radius be fatally injured, but it would also kill the creature. They also have a powerful tail that looks like an axe, and these also act as a weapon for them. Like some of their smaller counterparts, they prefer to attack from a distance because they could be vulnerable to short-range fights. The world of Xenomorphs is just as complicated as it is vast. This is only a broader outline of these various types of Xenomorphs, and a dive into the extensive mythology can be intriguing and exciting at the same time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.